Welcome Strategy Battle Gamers to another GBHL YouTube video. You're here with your host GBHL Damian, and this is my hobby vlog number 51. I'm back, and I'm back hopefully quite quickly. The last hobby vlog, the gap between the last one, between 49 and 50, I believe, was just over 2 years, and I'm hoping that the gap between this one and number 50 is a couple of weeks, really. You never kind of know as you start recording these things, but my hope is that this is probably going to go up early January sort of time. As you've probably seen in a few various hobby videos that have gone up over the last few weeks, I'm absolutely buzzing for the hobby at the moment, and I'm trying to kind of keep that motivation going. So, in the immortal words of Shane Ward, that's my goal. So, where are we? At the moment, it's just before Christmas. It's currently the 18th, 19th, something like that, I think, and I've just finished my 3 heroes, which you would have seen in Hobby Vlog number 50. So I've just finished Legolas, Gimli and Frodo. So that is the kind of those 3 half-finished projects that were really kind of annoying me, and I felt like I couldn't start on anything new until I'd, I don't know, dealt with those, I guess. And they're now done, which is awesome. Really happy with how they came out, and hopefully you enjoyed seeing them in the flesh in the last video. So now I get to start working on those kind of projects that I think hinted at. I might have gone into some detail in number 50, but certainly laid a few hints out. And basically, I now have 2 upcoming projects. I have the Grand Tournament, which is at the start of March, which I'm super excited for, and I have the next issue of SBG, which we're doing the photo shoot for towards the end of February and towards the start of March. And there's 2 projects linked to that we're going to start with. And they're going to be the stuff that I'm kind of working on over the next couple of months. So first things first, I don't know which one of these is going to actually come first, but here are my options. I have, as definitely I mentioned this in number 49, I have my last sprue of Moran and Orcs. There's about 12, I've got 13 Moranans left to do. I think I said in issue 50 that I'd painted up my 700 point Moranan army for the GT last year, and I then kind of abandoned it, and I want to finish this off. I've got unfinished business with Moranan. So I've got 13 plastic warriors. I've got Gothmog's Enforcer, who, as you can see, was assembled and even primed but never got painted. And I've also got Goroth and Zagdush, the Forge World double pack, which I'm gonna have. And I've also got 3 other heroes which I haven't dug out just yet. Which are, I think it's the command pack minus the banner, so I think that's a drummer, a Shaymin and a captain maybe. I'm going to try and do all those in kind of one big batch and finish off that Moranan army, that army of Gothmog force, at least for the time being. So that's one project. And then the other project is for my Grand Tournament armies. And as I kind of mentioned in the last video, I came back from Throne of Skulls absolutely buzzing, really excited, and immediately wanted to start planning my next event force. And just like about everyone else in the community, I got blown away by this. War in Rohan, the stunning new supplement that smells fantastic, as we've come to expect from a GW book. It's a beautiful, wonderful book. It's got loads and loads of cool stuff in it, and it's got everyone buzzing about Rohan and Isengard and those kind of things again. For me, this is especially close to my heart because Rohan and Isengard were where I started. They were always my my favourite armies back in. I played the game in like 2001 when it first came out with like Fellowship scenarios and stuff, but then I kind of dropped out of it. And when I got back into it, I started my first 2 main armies were an Isengard force and a Rohan force. This is about 2011, 2010 I think. I started collecting like all the plastics, which at the time you could get for very cheap off eBay, and that's kind of how I got back into the game. And for me, Rohan's always been my favourite. Like the Rohan and Isengard, the 2 Towers is my favourite of the films. Like I always leant towards that far more than Return of the King and the Gondor stuff. And actually this year, or over the past year, I've kind of flipped that a bit and kind of collected my army, the Dead Force and my Moranan Force. So it's been interesting to kind of look at that stuff, because I'd really never looked at those ranges. But certainly for me, where my heart truly lies is with Rohan and Isengard. So this supplement was super exciting for me, and I was really excited to dust off my armies. One of my favourite things about what the Middle Earth team are doing at the moment is Legendary Legions, because what I love about them is they don't require you to buy any more models, but it suddenly feels like you've got brand new armies because you've got different ways to use your existing collection. and it's something that excites me so much. And that is what I'm doing for the GT. I'm going to take 2 Legendary Legions. I'm sure I don't dare to imagine what proportion of the GT armies are going to be Legendary Legions from War in Rohan. I imagine it's going to be very high, but the great benefit is because it's good v evil, all that means, if it does happen, is you're going to get tons of thematic matchups between Rohan and Isengard or Dunland or something. So that'll be super, super cool. And it's definitely what I'm going to do. And the ones for me that really appealed, I've always loved Helm's Deep, so I'm going to do the Fighting Uruk-hai Assault on Helm's Deep Legion, and I'm going to do the Riders of Aemma, kind of coming to sort of save the day and ride down the hill. So they're going to be my 2 opposing forces. For this will be my 4th year at GT where I've taken deliberately opposing forces. I don't just try and take 2 armies. I try and pick 2 thematic armies that you could put on the same kind of display board, and it'd all fit together. So that's what I'm doing for this one. So what I love so much about this stuff is it allows me to indulge in kind of one of my, this is a bit weird, but one of my favourite things in the hobby is when you get to dive into your collection and rescue models. So like most of us, I've got tons of these figure cases and boxes that are stuffed to the brim with unpainted models. You know, all those projects on the one day. If you go way back in the GBHL, there's a video of me and Jamie called Unboxing the Box, which is just going through one massive cardboard box of my unopened projects. And that was just the unopened stuff. Like, there's cases with tons and tons of open models all over the place. And I know it sounds weird, but I don't know if anyone else does this, but I forget what I have. And so sometimes opening up one of these boxes and going through them it's like Christmas. You can sort of find all these projects, and there's something I just find wonderfully evocative and exciting about rummaging around at the back of cupboards, desperately trying to find old models. And it just kind of makes me quite excited to kind of go and salvage these models from the great unloved, unpainted pile and kind of bring them up to date. And that's what I've been able to do for the GT. So because I've got these armies painted, I've got no desire to paint a new Isengard army or a new Rohan army. You know, they're not painted as well as my current stuff, but that's just how it goes. I don't really repaint stuff. I barely have enough time to paint anything, let alone repainting armies. So I'm going to be really excited about getting those older armies out. You know, they haven't. You know, they've been in various narrative match play games over the years, but they haven't really seen any action for about, well, I don't know, 7-8 years. So it's really quite exciting to be kind of literally dusting those models off and getting them on the table again. But I also wanted to take it as a really cool chance to paint some fantastic centerpiece models for those armies. And that's what I've gone digging around in. So when I got back from Throne of Skulls, I went digging through all these boxes and I salvaged a few key models. The first of which is, make sure I put this in the right place. This, I don't know if you can see it there, but you'll see it in close shot later. This is an Isengard Ballista. Let's put it in front of there. A metal Isengard Ballista, no less. This I have had. I couldn't even tell you when I got this or where I got this, but I've had it in a figure case for years, 6, 7, 8 years. Before I went away on Throne of Skulls, this was about, I don't know, this wasn't even in the painting queue. It was literally years and years down the painting queue. If you'd asked me then, I would have said this would be painted in at least 5 years' time, if not more. And suddenly you come back from an event with a new supplement, and suddenly this model has become the super, super cool centerpiece for an Isengard army for me. In a really bizarre twist, I've already painted the crew. I have no possible concept of why I would have painted a ballista crew and not painted the ballista. It makes me think that this once was the next thing I was going to paint and basically got derailed essentially. So I'm super excited to kind of dust that off. It's missing one of the little turning handles, which is kind of annoying, so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about that. It's probably alright with only one actually looking at it. It doesn't necessarily feel like it's missing it. So I might just leave it, or I might try and build one or scratch build one or something. I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's super cool, and it's also, as you know, in the Legion, ballistas have kind of got the troll catapult roll essentially. They can re-roll misses and re-roll scatters, so that's going to be quite exciting. So that's literally all I have to paint for my evil army. For my Isengard force, everything else is already painted. So I just get to paint one cool kind of centerpiece model and add it, and then I'm good to go. And the next model is doing exactly the same for the good, and that is This chap, you probably can't see it from there at all, this is Gandalf the White. This is the new plastic Gandalf the White on foot. As you know, the Gandalf the White and Pippin kit came out, and Gandalf the White is in the Legion. I have also never painted Gandalf the White, and this is one of those wonderful, bizarre things where I think I was chatting to Tom about this just a couple of weeks ago, saying how of all the kind of heroic, iconic characters, I'd never ever painted a version of Gandalf the White, which is possibly quite surprising. And suddenly I had no plans to, but then you kind of settle upon a theme, and suddenly, wow, it's like I've got to paint Gandalf the White now. He's got to be in that force. So I'm painting up the new plastic one to be the foot version, but I'm not painting the new plastic one to be the mounted version. Instead, I'm using this guy. Don't know if you can see him. This is the fine cast Gandalf the White on horse, the one where Shadowfax is rearing up and he's got his Glamdring up in the air, because this to me is the closest pose to him, basically at the top of the hill, you know, the whole when they look up and Gandalf appears and Shadowfax rises up, rears up. So that's the scene I'm going for with Gandalf. And so again, this is just the sort of thing I was talking about, where this was just lying in a figure case. I had no plans to paint Gandalf the White at all, like a couple of weeks ago. I don't know when this would have got painted. He probably would have got painted before the Ballista at some point, but certainly no plans. And suddenly he's dragged out, he's dusted off, and he's good to go. So those are the models for my GT force, essentially. So I get Gandalf the White foot and mounted, and the Isengard Ballista, and those are the only models I need to paint for my GT force. So yeah, those are the upcoming projects essentially. And what I get to do over Christmas, I'm going home to see my family for a bit, and as I've said in previous vlogs, what I tend to do is take models home to clean up. I rarely take home painting stuff because it just requires a bit more, but I try and do all the clean up there because you kind of have the time to do it. So I'm taking back all these Morannons, and I'm taking back Gandalf, I'm taking back the Ballista, and I'm going to try and get them cleaned up and primed over the Christmas holiday. So that's probably what you're going to see in this vlog. We're probably not going to make too much progress in terms of painting, but my hope is by the end of this vlog, you'll see these models all ready to go. And then I've got 2 months really where I need to decide which one comes first. 2 months for this lot, for my painting rate, seems doable, I think. It feels like Gandalf and the Ballista could be a month and the Morannons could be a month. I feel like I could do that, I could achieve that. We'll have to wait and see, but I really don't know what I'm going to start with. I really want to start with Gandalf and the Ballista. That's what I'm more excited about, rather than another 12 Morannons. But maybe that makes me think I should do the Morannons first to kind of get them out of the way. But we shall see. So there we go. That's Hobby Vlog 51 for me. That's what I'm going to be doing next. I'm going to pop over to the desk now, and I will show you some of these sprues under the light, so we can see what we're working with, and then hopefully we'll get them assembled. Cheers. Cool. So let's have a quick look at what I'm hoping to get assembled over the Christmas holiday. So as I mentioned, over there we have my final sprue of Morannons. Pretty much everyone's seen a lot of Morannon love recently, so no need to dwell too much on these guys, but they are super cool. Again, like I just said, it's really fun for me because before February, January time, I really had never looked at this sprue at all. They just weren't something that interested me, and so even though these models are whatever 10 years old, for me it was like a brand new army. It was really quite exciting when they came out, and so I really like them. Happy with my paint scheme on them, and so it'll be fun to get another 12 warriors sort of done and get my numbers up for this year. So there's my Morannons. As I said, I've also got Gothmog's Enforcer. You can see how close he was to getting done. He's actually been sprayed Leadbelcher, which is how I start my Morannon stuff. So he was on the bench with all the other guys back in February, but I just didn't feel I had the time to paint him as well. So he's come so close, but yeah, so far, and is now ready to go. As I mentioned, we have these two delightful chaps, Gorath and Zagdush, who I'm really excited about, and I've since opened up the pack so we can have a little cheeky look at these. So this is Zagdush's body. Beautiful sculpt, as we've come to expect from Forge World. Really lovely stuff. Lovely. Gorath's body. Gorath is an amazing model. Tom painted him up for us when I ran out of time for issue 8 of SPG. He did a really great job. He's on the cover. It's a great looking model. Really cool kind of Morannon captain. And a really great profile with a cool, interesting rule. So that's funky. We've got then a few bits of them here, including there's Zagdush's head in there. Hopefully we can get that. There he is. Arr. Beautiful, beautiful stuff from the Middle Earth team. It's obviously Zagdush's arm, and then I don't know what that bit is. Looks like maybe a bit of his back or something. Where's that going to go? Is one of them missing a bit of their back? Don't know what that is. Maybe it's a rock. Maybe it's a scenic base. Could be a rock, couldn't it? What they're stood on or something. But we'll find out when we assemble them. And then we get one more sprue here, which is just some more weapons. So that's Goros hands and Zagdush's other sword in there. Super, super cool. So really happy with them. As I said, I've got the Morannons as well, the command box, but I still, since the time I filmed the last clip, I still haven't gone and dug them out of storage. So you'll have to wait until they're assembled for that. But as I said at the start, that's one of my favourite things to do. So I'm quite looking forward to going and digging through all those dusty boxes and finding those models. So that's my kind of Morannon force that I need to get painted for the next issue of SBG. But let's now turn to the models that I'm going to be doing for the GT. So here's the Ballista. I'm going to try and hold this in place. This bit kind of hangs on here or something. It goes in there, doesn't it? Ah, there it is. There's my Ballista. Now, I know you don't have to, but for me, I always like to mount siege engines on bases, just so you don't touch the model themselves. And I managed to find this bad boy, which I believe is an 80mm base. I had lying around, and I think this was from a Gundabad troll that I've put my Gundabad trolls onto generation shift bases. So I had this spare base, so this is kind of perfect, fits really nicely and gives it a footprint on the board. It's good for measuring range, allows you to move the model without touching paint job, and it allows people to charge it, and everyone's very, very clear about where it goes. I'm also missing the pike, which is here, so that will slot onto there, something like that, I believe, which is super, super cool. So I love this. I'm really, really excited about it. I really enjoyed painting up my Mordor War catapult. I was pleased with how that came out. So it's going to be a fun little project to do. And as I said, I've already painted the crew. So there's mould lines all over it. So I'll need to do some horrible cleaning up of metal models, which is a horrible process, but a necessary one. And then I'll get some paint on it. Da-ding. Is he in shot there? He's not really in shot. So why don't we get you guys away so we can see what we're going to be working on. I can pop you into there. There he is, there's my Ballista. And then Gandalf. So we have the plastic sprue, which I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with. It's had a lot of attention recently. It's an amazing sculpt. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful, top and bottom eyelids, so lots of fun detail to be playing with there. We've got Glamdring's scabbard down there, which is quite cool. Oh, no back. We've also then here got Glamdring, which looks beautiful, really, really well done. Gandalf's staff. I'm also, for this project, I'm going to try and paint up Gandalf's staff from the Measurer's set, which will be good fun. I've also got Pippin here, which I might as well show because I won't be holding this sprue for another 10 years. But he's really, really lovely. And there's Pippin's face. It's a lovely little sculpt. And look, that is Billy Boyd, right? Absolutely incredible. Really, really amazing stuff. And then here's the mounted Pippin, which I won't be using. And then we have the back of Gandalf down here. Whoosh, all these flowing capes and a bit of his hair, and then another piece here. So I'll be using that for my dismounted Gandalf, and Pippin will be going back in the box where he belongs. Super cool. The model I'm really, really excited about is this one, the mounted Finecast. This has always been my favourite. This was always my favourite Gandalf the White model. I do love the new plastic mounted one, but I think for me that one, when I do paint him up, is going to have Pippin on him. So this is going to be my model for just Gandalf the White on Shadowfax. There's a tiny bit of flash there on his beard. You can see that I'm just going to scrape away. It is fine cast, but it's a really good sculpt. There's no sort of air bubbles I can see, nothing to worry about. Just be a little bit of green stuff in these gaps. You can see the legs down here. There's the other two horse legs. And one thing I really like about this is that you've got the join here to go into the base, but also the tail of Shadowfax has a bit to glue onto the base. So there's 2 points of contact, which I think is really, really important, particularly for a fine cast model. So this again is a lovely, lovely sculpt, and I'm really excited to kind of paint him. I think I'm going to start with him Start with that one rather than the foot one. And then his weapons are over here on this sprue. So this Gandalf I'm not painting up, but that's the mount of Gandalf's hand in the air with Glamdring, and his staff to be down by his side. So that is super cool as well. So Gandalf gets to join the party over here. I've also got those other Morannon heroes, and I've also got some inclination that I might be, I might try and assemble some Warriors of Dale. I've got some. I've got another box of Warriors of Dale, and I showed you in the drawer in the last video. I had some assembled, but I didn't manage to assemble my second box. So, on the off chance I have a really productive Christmas, I think I'll take them back. They'll certainly be the lowest priority, but I'll take them back with me to my parents and try and clean them up. So yeah, there we go. That's my my stuff that I'm going to try and do in this hobby vlog. I'm trying to get it all cleaned up and all assembled, ready for the paint when I come back home in kind of early January. And we'll see how we do. So I imagine it's now what is it, the 19th of December. There now probably won't be an update on this until maybe 2 weeks, maybe about the 6th of January or something like that. Probably, which will be when we've finished all the holidays and I'm back at work, and hopefully all of this stuff is cleaned up, primed, and ready to go, and that'll make a nice ending for the vlog. So we'll have to see how we do, but all being well, see you in 2 weeks. And I am back. What has been a matter of seconds for you has been, as hoped, about 2 weeks for me. I said that I think I was last recording on about December the 19th, and I said I was thinking I'll be back on January the 6th. And would you Adam and Eve, it is January the 6th. And in a perhaps shocking twist, I'm delighted to say, it's gone really, really well. So let's first off start with these shiny little silver chaps. As you can see, all my Morannons are assembled, cleaned up and primed and ready to go. So if we just grab a couple of these guys, these are all in the sprue when you saw them a few seconds ago. Hopefully they're coming out right there. They've been cleaned up, assembled, sprayed black, and then sprayed lead belcher. That's how I did my Morannons last year, and it seemed to work, seemed to come out really, really well. Sort of saved me with a base coat of the armour. Let's just show you a few of these. Really great models in here. I really like the kind of Morannon plastics. I think they're cool. Lead Belcher always, I think, looks like it's obscured a lot of the detail as a spray, but they come out really well in the end. If I just show you one that's been done exactly the same way. This is the kind of finished effect. And I don't think you can see any, I don't think suddenly here you've actually lost any detail. It's only on the it's only when they're kind of shiny and reflective, I think, that makes it look like that. So yeah, I was really pleased with those. Let's show you everyone's favourite orc, because who doesn't like to see this fella? There he is. I just wanna be loved. But yeah, so I've got the, was it 8, 12, 14 of these guys, I think? 13 of these guys left to complete, and also had my heroes. I think I showed you Gotham Enforcer last time. He was already cleaned up and assembled. It just missed out on the draft last time, so he's good to go. I'm very excited. And I definitely showed you the sprues for Goroth. He's a really, really cool model. He went together really well. I've assembled kind of a bunch of Forge World kits over Christmas, and just been so impressed by kind of how they all start together. They're really, really great. Lovely detail on the face. And Zagdush. There he is. Oh, let me come in. Here you come. There's Zagdush, who's again super cool. Lots of detail on that awesome face. It'll be quite fun to paint. I'm looking forward to that one. And then what I don't think I'd shown you was the Merlin Commanders. I think they were still tucked away in a box. I forgot to get them out. So we've got a captain, Merlin Orc captain, who's quite a cool model. I'm holding a massive axe and a severed head, which is kind of funky. The drummer is cool. Kind of cool model to have in your army as well. Give you the little movement buff, which is quite nice. Gurrett's can give you march in that army as well, so the march and drum buff can be quite cool. Lots of ways of getting your troops moving. It's got a funky little face as well. Lots of kind of cool detail in there to play with. And then finally the Shaymin. I'm kind of relatively anti-Shaymin these days. I used a lot of Shaymins in my Eric list when I was sort of playing competitively, and I just got a bit sick of them. They're obviously not quite as good now because Fury's taking a bit of a nerf, but they're still a bit dull to play against. Curse of Finecast here, I think, with the spear. There's only so much you can do about a double bend like that, but I don't really care about it. I don't foresee me using this model an awful lot, to be honest, but I thought it was one of those cases of I've got to assemble and paint him now, otherwise he'll never get done. So there we go, that's my Moranum force. The last of my Moranum models, actually, that need painting. So there's 19 in total, and these guys are the next thing I'm going to be painting. I've kind of just settled on that over Christmas. That these guys are the thing, in a way, I'm looking forward to painting the least. It's going to be a bit of a slog getting through them, but I'm going to set down and do all these together. I'm going to paint them all together and get basically the 6 of these guys, the heroes, up to the same level as the warriors. And then my current plan is basically when the warriors are finished, I'm then going to spend like an extra evening on each of the heroes, just adding some more highlights to kind of make them pop a bit more. So that's my plan. And optimistically, I think these guys, for me, if I'm being realistic, will take 3 weeks. I think if I can paint all of these to a kind of warrior standard in 2 weeks, I'll be happy with that. And then I'll spend basically, as I said, an extra week tidying these guys up. So that's actually going to, the next time you see kind of update on painted models from me, I think will be in about 3 weeks. So I reckon we're looking around the end of January. I'm really hoping that all these guys will be painted by the end of January. So yeah, good start there, and quite looking forward to that. But that's not all. You may also remember I had a certain white wizard on sprue, and now he is assembled and fully painted. Look at that. Gandalf the White. White beard, white cloak, white staff, white sword, white base. Of course, he's not fully painted, he has just been primed, but God, what a model that is. It's really, really cool. It's not one of those plastics that kind of looks good as it is on the sprue, but then really, really comes to life when you put it all together. It's amazing how dynamic these new GW plastic models are. A little bit of something on there I'll have to get rid of. But really, really cool. Absolutely loved putting it together, and I'm really happy with the pose I've chosen for him for his foot model. So there is Gandalf the White on foot, and also Gandalf the White mounted. And you'll see that he is currently still Gandalf the Grey, because he's not been sprayed. And the reason for that is you can see there's some green stuffing to do around the horse there, and maybe in that gap between the legs there, and around here in the arm. It's fairly inevitable, but I'll have to get onto that, and I just hadn't got around to doing that green stuff thing. I really don't like green stuff. I'm not very good at it at all, and I don't enjoy the process, so I've kind of been putting that off. So he needs a bit of work on that. It'll probably take me longer than it'll take most people, but he's a cool model. I'm really glad I've got him done again. I'm super excited. And once I get green stuff, I'll probably start with him. It's always tricky if you paint. I don't know if anyone else finds this. If you paint the same hero twice, like the foot mounted, I always think you do a better job on the first one because you're more into it, and then you're a bit bored by the second one. And he's more important to me, so I want to do him first. But equally, because he's such a tricky paint scheme with a white horse and white cloak and white hair, I kind of want to do this one first to get my head around it. So I'm not quite sure what I'll do there. We'll have to wait and see a bit. So there we go. Gandalf's also pretty much assembled and ready to go. But that's not all. You may also remember that I had a Assault Ballista in pieces, and you're gonna love this. Check it out. It's only finished. I mean, this is off the chart progress for O'Byrne. I don't think I even conceived of actually painting it over Christmas, but it's a relatively simple paint job, and I got it completely finished. So here it is. Cleaned it up, and then did a relatively simple paint job. So it was sprayed at the same time as these guys. It was sprayed black, and then lead belcher. Because it really is all metal and wood. And so I sprayed lead belcher. I then painted all the wood with Mornfang brown. And then I coated the whole model in Nuln oil, which shaded the metal and shaded the wood areas. I then dry brushed the wood with Steel Legion drab and then Rakarth flesh, which I think creates quite a nice finish to it. a nice tone to the wood there, I think. It's quite cool. And then I picked out all the metal in lead belcher, and then I shaded all the metal areas with Agrax Earthshade. It was quite fun to do. To be honest, I quite enjoyed it, and really quick progress. I think I mentioned, I'm sure I had the base in the previous one, so I always wanted to put it on a base to give it a bit of stability and area effect in game. So that came out well. I noticed more and more that I said I dug it out of the case, and I'd bought this in a kind of job lot years and years ago, and it's been relatively badly treated and badly assembled. If you look through here, you can see some of these kind of cross beams are clearly like bent at an odd angle and not as they're meant to be. I think I might have pointed out that it's missing one of these handles as well. So it's got this one here, but it hasn't got it here. But what I actually rationalised, I don't think I've said this, apologies if I've said this to you a couple of minutes ago, but that doesn't actually look like it's missing a piece to me. It could just be that there's only ever one handle on it, so I think I can deal with that. And most annoyingly, look at my floating bar. See this? Oh, where is it? There. See how this is floating? There's a groove in there that it's clearly meant to sit in, but at some point when this was assembled, and I would only confirm that it wasn't by me, it's too high for some reason. I can't actually tell, when I'm looking in it, I can't tell where it's gone wrong or what's happened to it. But in some way, that's been kind of not lined up right. So it's very much a piece that's been through the wars, but I don't really mind. I don't think it damages the overall effect of it, to be honest. I think it's pretty cool. And I'm really happy to get it done. And it was a nice, quick job, quite fun to do, and I'm quite pleased with it. So this, I think I've mentioned it, this will be coming to the GT with me. And so, given that I did finish that, the other thing I got to do was then dig out the crew, which is a bit of a blast from the past. Now these are already painted, but here are the crew for it. I think I mentioned this, that these guys were painted years ago, like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. For some reason I painted these three models. I couldn't even tell you why now, but they stand up all right. They're painted in my old Uruk scheme. You know, there's not nearly as many highlights as I'd put on them now, but I think they look quite good. They'll certainly do. It's quite like neat painting, just not being pushed as far as I would these days. So there's that chap. There's this bloke. Where are we? There you go. Come on. This guy here is kind of playing with the controls a bit. And finally the guy with the extra pike. The extra bolt. And the other thing I noticed is actually when I got these out of the case, obviously 7 years ago I decided the bolt should be black, and in my current version the bolt's metal, so I'll probably change one of them. I think I kind of like somewhere in between, to be honest. I think the black is slightly too black, but I think it's probably better than the metal to break it up. So I think I'm probably going to paint this one black and then put a kind of a light highlight of some sort onto both bolts or something to finish it off. But there you go. So we've got the crew for this, and the cool thing for me that I've said in various videos over the years is that because I base all my models the same way, these were based 7 years apart, but hopefully they're almost identical. You know, the flock's the same, the colours are the same. And that's the whole idea with a lot of my models, that I try and make sure they're as interchangeable as possible. So that's cool as well. So there we go. We managed to get the Ballista done and painted above and beyond. So that's super cool. This guy also, I don't know if you can tell from there, but he lines up to hold that part really nicely, which works really well. So yeah, great success. But that's not all. Remember right at the end of the last clip I said I was being incredibly optimistic, and maybe I'll be able to get some Dale Warriors assembled as well. Dale. So yeah, I did also manage to get my last kind of warband of Dale Warriors done. As you can see, these aren't primed. That was far from a priority for these guys, but I got my next box of 10 Dale Warriors all assembled. Really stunning models. These, I love them, and again I can't wait to get stuck into these in quite a few months' time. To be honest, the Dale project is some way down the path for me, but it is coming. This model is awesome. Is that one of the best archer models in the range? I think staggeringly good. There's spear dude. Ooh. This spear dude. Super cool. And then this archer as well. It's really good that the Dale archers are probably the best models in the Dale plastics, because they're great archers in the game as well. And finally, Stabby McGee. There he is. So there we go. I managed to get those Dale Warriors done as well. How cool is that? But that's not all. From absolutely nowhere, Dale Wine. I realised that I can't remember quite what I said, but this is all being done for two different things. Some of it's being done for the Grand Tournament in the first week of March, and some of it's being done for another thing that I don't know if I've mentioned, but I'll keep under wraps for now, which is, unless I told you about it 2 weeks ago, in which case it's probably not under wraps, but which is the weekend before that, so the last weekend of Feb, is what I need the Moranas for. And I kind of realised that actually we also needed to get Dale Wine ready for that weekend as well. So I grabbed Dale Wine out of his box, cleaned him up. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous model. Lovely, lovely detail on the face. Really, really stunning. Got him done. And of course, he wouldn't be a Rohan hero without his mounted version. And here he is. And this model is just staggeringly good. So, so good. I actually put a post up about this on the GBHL, but what amazes me about this, you compare this to, I don't want this to be an anti-finecast rant, because this is absolutely true of metal as well, but look at the joins here on the finecast, and this, I've got like a metal Saruman horse, it was exactly the same in metal. You can see the hole there, you can see the gaps in here, the gaps in the cloak in there. It's a real pain assembling kind of multi-part cavalry models, and it always was. This model is 8 parts. 8 different components put this model together, and the joins are hidden so cleverly. I don't think there's any need whatsoever to do any filling on this. And I don't know quite what is that the digital sculpting? Is it their new kind of mold making techniques, or I don't know, whatever it is, but I'm just blown away. And I've thought that with a lot of the Forge World models, to be honest, that the joins between the different pieces are just so crisp. So he's absolutely gorgeous. And again, I got the same thing as Gandalf. I remember which one do I paint first? I remember he's in Royal Guard gear, isn't he? Oh no, he's a bit different. He's a bit plate mail. I painted some Royal Guard about 8 years ago, and I hated it. I don't like painting Royal Guard models at all, so I haven't really been looking forward to painting some of those Rohan heroes. But I do need to get them done. So I think that is sadly all. So as you can see, I've had a thoroughly productive Christmas break. I'm really happy with what I've got done. I think it's fair to say I got far more done than I'd expected to, and that sets me up nicely for the kind of the 2 months of hobby to come, where hopefully all of this stuff, with the exception of the Dell guys, is going to be painted. So there we go. I'll pop the camera over to the sofa and sign off. So there we go. Good start, good hobby start to 2020 for me. Happy New Year. Didn't really do that bit, but yeah, I'm really pleased with what I got done there, and for the kind of targets for the hobby vlogs and stuff, it's a big tick for this week. I'll be interested when I edit this together to go and look at the 2 clips and see if I'm substantially broader than I was 2 weeks ago. But I've had a very decadent Christmas, as I'm sure most of us have. It's been really good. Hope you guys all had a great break and are going to get some good hobbying done. I'm really chuffed with what I got done. I also, I think I said this at some point maybe, but the reason I do clean up at home at my folks' house is I really don't like clearing up, and even that I really enjoyed this time. It wasn't too arduous. I've got loads and loads of models now ready to go, and I can just get on with a kind of fun bit of painting them, which is cool. So that's what I plan to be doing. It's I've basically come back 2 weeks after that first clip that I recorded. I'm still absolutely buzzing for the hobby. I think it's really cool what's going on at the moment. There's all the done lendings around now. There's loads of really exciting stuff going on in the group. People are making amazing things with their Rohan terrain, and it's just a really good time to be into this game. So I'm really excited. Still buzzing, and hopefully you're enjoying the fact that there has been a second blog. This must be going up. So it means there's been 2 of my hobby vlogs within, you know, two weeks for the first time in 3 years. Does that make this or something? And I'm just quite certain that there'll be another one. As I think I said when I was just showing you the models, my plan is to now paint the Moranas, and I think they're going to take me about 3 weeks. So the next time you'll see a kind of update in terms of painted models might well be in about 3 weeks' time. But I have a plan to do a kind of interim hobby vlog. So there will be hobby vlog 52 coming out that doesn't really necessarily show off progress on those models, but does something slightly different, looking ahead for the year essentially. So there will be hopefully another hobby vlog in the next either week or 2 weeks or something like that, which would be cool. Also, I'm fairly sure I'm getting my head around the order that these videos are going out in. To give you some idea, I think I'm now currently working on 5 different hobby videos for the channel because of the order that you have to do bits and bobs in. So it's a bit hard to keep my head around it, but between now and the next time we see the Moranas, there'll also be at least one of my that series of videos I did where you take a model from the box to using it on the table. It's going to be at least one of those, and there might even be 2 of those. So there's 2 of those videos coming very soon, which is pretty cool. And we'll also have our final video from Seven Stones out soon, which will clear the backlog on that. It's not particularly exciting. Hopefully you've enjoyed the 2 videos of the panels that have gone up and all the talks. If you haven't, make sure you go and check them out. A bunch of people did really interesting talks at Seven Stones last year, and you can go back and watch them while you're painting. But we have one more, which is just, I think it's just the award ceremony, so it's not particularly exciting, but it'll hopefully give you another bit of content to listen to while you're painting. So that's what's coming up on the channel. There should be somewhere in the region of 5 videos at least in the next 3 weeks. Hopefully you're enjoying having the channel back to life a bit in some way. I know it's not quite what it was, but hopefully it's good to be getting a bit more content out there. I'm also in the process of resurrecting another old series with a new face. So I don't want to do that thing where we say we've got tons and tons of exciting stuff coming, because that annoys me on YouTube, but I'm trying to work to create another regular series for this channel going forward, so that'll be cool as well. So hopefully a fair bit of relatively steady content coming to you for the foreseeable. So yeah, other than that, I hope you enjoyed this hobby vlog. I hope you had a great Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. Support your Hobbit host by clicking on the links below. Like us on Facebook. Support your Hobbit hobby, and happy strategy battle gaming.